Hey guys, this is a video from my man Arat. Yeah. And they took it off YouTube, I believe, because he has clips from the Avatar. So it's probably was taken down for copyright. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to record it for YouTube and I'll bypass any of the clips where they're talking. Because he makes a great discussion here about gender dynamics. Okay, so let's get into this.
Hey everyone. After my last video where I mentioned that I'd pick Azula over Katara any day, I received a comment from Main Masquerade regarding my choice. I wanted to make this video to address his points and offer some adjustments to his perspective. But let me be clear, this isn't about dragging him through the mud. This video is all about having a respectful and thoughtful discussion, so don't expect any kind of caveman chest thumping here. Don't read too much into this as anything more than a polite exchange of ideas. Let's keep it cool and have a constructive chat.
Bro is spitting straight facts on who any man would pick. I don't know how to feel about your reasoning, though. I feel like Katara likes him like a human being and isn't that impressed by his status, unlike other people. You know, animated girls are written to be human beings. Also, Aang was already a big deal. He is basically a deity in their world, with shrines and temples all over the world dedicated to the Avatar.
The whole status thing is what makes the difference between just hugging him while flying on Appa in a regular episode and then going full on lip lock at the end of the show.
They kissed in Season 1 in the Cave of Lovers, and they kissed just before the failed war on the Day of Black Sun. So yes, she was mad stressed. That was why she told Aang to leave her alone that time in Season 3 when he kissed her. As you know, even a high-status man doesn't get what he wants unless the woman also wants it.
So she doesn't want it? Why? I thought he was the Avatar. The thing is, a guy's work in a relationship is never done. You've got to keep stepping up your game to keep her interested. You can't keep playing the I'm the master of all four elements card forever. And speaking of stress, wasn't Aang under crazy pressure? The dude had the fate of the whole world on his shoulders and was about to take on the Fire Lord solo. But even with all that stress, his libido didn't exactly take a hit. Oh, and don't forget, in the cave episode, their kiss was a last-ditch effort to escape because their lives were on the line. They figured if they kissed, their love would magically guide them out of the cave. That was the first kiss. And if they hadn't been stuck in that cave, they wouldn't have kissed until the Day of Black Sun in Season 3. The cave kiss happened super early in Season 2, the second episode. And remember, Aang had just single-handedly wiped out a Fire Nation fleet at the Northern Water Tribe before Season 2 kicked off. Every time Aang pulled off something epic, Katara was like, "Good job, now here's a kiss." The first time the pair kiss is in The Cave of Two Lovers. Although their smooch was not visible on screen, it was confirmed by the writers that they did kiss. The second time was in the episode The Day of Black Sun, right before their invasion of the Fire Nation. The third time they kissed was during the episode The Ember Island Players. This was when Katara pulled back because she said she was a little confused and wasn't ready to come to terms with her feelings. The fourth and last kiss we see between the two is the iconic Sozin's Comet Part 3 kiss when they're standing on the balcony. Quite sweet, might I add. Aang and Katara kissed a total of 4 times over the 3 seasons. But the only time they really kissed with any real passion, not just Aang awkwardly smashing his lips into hers or kissing out of sheer desperation because they were in danger, was at the very end of season 3 when Aang was basically the top dog on the planet. Don't let this fade from memory. Men rule the world, women rule the men. Women are the ones in charge of relationships. Aang is basically Katara's little puppy, and she's the one calling the shots.
Katara is lesser than Azula because Azula actually wanted to fuck Chan 2 minutes after meeting him.
Azula decided to hit on the guy at the beach party because she was jealous of Ty Lee. Ty Lee had tons of guys fawning over her, and one even stood in front of her to block the sun while she sunbathed. Seeing all the attention Ty Lee was getting really ticked off Azula, and she admitted she was jealous. Ty Lee then gave her some tips on how to attract guys. Azula took the advice and went for the guy who owned the party house. He was rich, handsome, and the son of a Fire Nation general. Even though Azula was a fire princess herself, she was still hiding her identity along with Zuko, Ty Lee, and Mai to blend in with regular people. Azula isn't any better than Katara. She cares a lot about power and status, and the guy she ended up kissing was the most important person at the party. If I weren't pro-male and if these girls were real instead of just cartoon figures, I'd go with Azula. At least she's upfront about who she is, unlike Katara, who keeps bringing up her dead mother in almost every other sentence. Azula's mom isn't around either and actually despised her, so it's not like she has a better backstory.
True. But remember, Azula is higher status than Chan, so she's technically dating down. The only men of high enough status for her are all related to her. Except for the Avatar.
At this point, we've hit the ceiling of what humanity can offer. If Azula is from the most powerful and privileged family in the Avatar world, the highest status guy she can date is just a step down from her. Azula dating someone with less status doesn't mean she's not interested in status or that she's better than Katara. Plus, she didn't go to that party looking for a boyfriend. Remember when she said, "For once, I just wanted to see how people would treat us if they didn't know who we were." Throughout the episode, you could see her getting jealous of Ty Lee because Ty Lee had a bunch of guys chasing after her and giving her all the attention. Azula couldn't stand seeing her minion in the spotlight, so she started feeling down about it. Eventually, her frustration boiled over and snapped at Ty Lee during the party. Ty Lee got upset and cried, so Azula apologized and admitted she was jealous. Ty Lee then gave Azula some half-baked advice on attracting guys. Laugh at everything they say, even if it's not funny, and they'll be into you.
Okay.
By the way, have you noticed how this show subtly leans into man-hate? It makes men look like empty shells with no real substance or character, who only say dumb things and expect women to validate them. Meanwhile, the female characters are shown as too perceptive and self-aware to fake it, and they're clearly annoyed by having to pretend. Take that scene where Azula reluctantly laughs at something Chen says.
Is this your first time on Ember Island?
It's like the writers are trying to say, look how this woman has to put on an act and be someone she's not because the guy she's talking to is a self-centered jerk. See how this insightful woman is being stifled by this shallow man. Anyways, Azula took this advice and approached Chan. Notice she went straight for the highest status guy in the room, made some awkward, cringy comments that didn't make much sense, but it was enough to grab Chan's attention. So basically, Azula got close to the son of a Fire Nation general and a mansion owner just by being a woman. To Chan, Azula was just another girl at the party. He had no idea she was the daughter of Ozai. Guys don't care about a woman's status. They're interested in what's between her legs. So, Azula didn't need to improve her conversation skills or have a good pickup line. She acted like a total weirdo with zero social IQ, and it still worked. If a guy ever acted as socially awkward as Azula did with Chan, he'd be lucky if he didn't get his ass kicked. Then he'd have to go home and watch some Hamza videos to learn how to talk to girls without running out of things to say. In short, Azula just wanted to be pampered and to get attention. She's a typical female who just happened to be born into royalty. Some of you might bring up that moment when Chan ditched the girl he was talking to and took Azula out on the balcony.
Chan, I'm ready.
From that, you might say, hey, see, girls get passed over by guys too. Guys have just as much say in the dating scene. Check out this other scene where Ty Lee is totally overwhelmed by a bunch of guys crowding around her and staring. Do you see that ripped guy with the chiseled face hanging out on the sidelines? What's he doing there instead of being up close, chatting and flirting with Ty Lee? He should be right next to her, not standing around with the other skinny guys. He looks like a clone of Chan. So why is he just lurking in the background, doing nothing but watching Ty Lee from afar? Let me explain why. This guy is a total nobody. Seriously, no one knows who he is, he's got no influence, and he doesn't own the place or have any important connections. He's just there, taking up space. Even the furniture at the party is worth more than he is.
Stop talking to my...
Do you really think Chan would even bat an eye if this guy choked on his food and dropped dead right then and there? Or would he even care at all? So, despite this guy putting tons of time and effort into his looks and maintaining his muscles, the best he can manage is to end up as a minion, to Azula's minion. So don't even try to tell me that guys have just as much power in the dating scene too. Did Azula invest as much time and effort into her appearance as this background guy did to impress Chen, the highest status guy in the room, and win his approval? Absolutely, she did. Azula is depicted as highly ambitious and committed to perfection. She excels in combat with exceptional fighting skills and formidable bending abilities. Furthermore, her bureaucratic talents are remarkable, as she can read and manipulate people to achieve her goals. Don't forget, she infiltrated Ba Sing Se and seized control of the Earth Kingdom capital through her cunning and strategic prowess. There's no denying any of that. But here's the irony. Chan has no clue about any of that. He doesn't know she's the most important female in the Fire Nation, maybe even in the whole Avatar world. Chan doesn't care about how much effort she puts into her martial arts, how hard she works to track down the Avatar, or her work ethic. None of the aspects of her true identity that she hides from Chan played a role in his attraction to her. In fact, we all saw the look on his face when Azula got a little too fired up and briefly dropped her facade. All he sees is that she's prettier than the girl he was talking to before. Without needing to know anything about her background or status, he just thinks, hey, I want to hook up with this attractive girl. So if you're a girl, just look better than the next girl, and you'll have a general's son giving you special treatment and taking you up to the terrace. Let me let you in on a little secret if you're still naive about this. Chen doesn't have to stick with just one girl. After fucking Azula's brains out, he could easily go back to the girl he ditched earlier that night and fuck her brains out too. Just because Chen picked Azula over her this time doesn't mean it's game over for the other girl. Trust me, Chen would gladly sleep with her too. In fact, he was planning to. It just so happened that a better option showed up. So don't feel sorry for that girl. She's going to experience a level of sexual satisfaction that you can't even begin to imagine in your non-existent love life. Now, let's get back to this knockoff Chan, the pathetic guy in the background. Look at how this good-looking, muscle-bound guy is eyeing Ty Lee with those thirsty looks, along with other guys who aren't even half his size. Does he stand out at all? Does he mean anything significant to Ty Lee? To her, this muscular guy is just another background character. The only thing he has going for him is that he can lift more weight, so she might consider him to help carry her stuff the next time she goes to the beach.